What do we have here? Thought I'd show you some fodder you can use for plant life in your dioramas. So, first thing is it helps if you have ground cover. Why do I say that? Well, ground cover produces small flower stalks like these. So I have several types of ground cover, and when they flower, they produce these miniature little flower stems. So I'll start out with some of the natural stuff. This you can group together with a little hot glue, and it's a nice defoliated tree-like shrub. Yeah, most of these are going to be bushes and shrubs, not really trees. One thing I noticed, it's really hard to get scale trees if you're doing 6 or 7 inch figures. The trees are just too big. And the other thing is, most of the foliage I see used in dioramas either looks fake or it is totally out of scale. It's either too tiny or too big. So you want to look at the real world and imagine, a person standing next to it, how far it would come up on their leg or their body. So anyway, this first row here is basically flowering stems that I gathered and put together. This is various kind of mosses and lichens that grow in the northwest here in Seattle. These are from some type of flowering bush, and now's the time of year to gather this stuff because everything's gone to seed, and you have all these things available for the winter. So here, for example, is a bunch of morning glory flower blossoms before they open up. A lot of these can be used only as a temporary thing because they won't last. Others will last. This is ornamental pepper tree. So the peppercorns. There's pods from a carob tree. So I took these flower pods and I cut them in half and used half for the alien plant I made over here, and then on the top half I just put a stem on the other side and made other plants out of it. So let's look at some alien plants I made. First of all, artificial plants are not so good for anything but stealing parts. Like if you pull the stamen and pestle part out, which is the inner part that the bees and moths get the pollen from. And then here you have this pine cone type of deal with these flower pod things. Then in the holes I placed those artificial things, and it looks pretty good in that. Here's another one. This is an interesting combo. It's a little pine cone, some more of those plastic stamen and pestle things. Then some lichen from a tree, and then on the bottom, just for variety's sake, I put a little dried wasp nest. This one is a dried pepper, and these are artificial leaves. The pepper seeds look like that, by the way. You can open it up. I opened a dried pepper, and there were little tiny creatures in there, which I couldn't capture. So here's various pits. That's a salted plum, very aged. Here you have a combination of natural things. You have rosebuds, you have another seed pod, and you have salted plum. Here, you have an interesting combination. At the bottom, you got the part of the onion you cut off. You got a walnut shell, you got a mushroom, and you got a couple acorn caps. This one, can you guess where I got that? This is actually from a bunch of bananas. So each banana was on there, and a cone, seed cone, cherry pits, and these are incense. So that's the artificial part. And this one back here, again, that seed pod on one of these large cone things that I made smaller by peeling it. So a lot of weeds produce interesting seed pods. So I gathered that from a bush. So then, what if you don't have all this vegetation? Well, go to the thrift store and find a bag of potpourri, and in it you'll find cones. You'll find these seed pods that actually they've dyed, so that's good for alien plants. And then you find little flowers, baby's breath, and so on. Here are the tops of dandelions after they went to seed. I'm not sure what these are from. There's another flower, seed pod, some pine cones, and even a rose as it's about to bud. Looks for an interesting thing. So for alien plants, I like pod-like things. I don't know, it's just something alien about it to me. Things that grow in pods. And then for your natural things, like I said, it's very important to make the scale correct. So when you put your action figures or your buildings in, the plants are either not too small or not too large. So I also keep a jar handy, because when you're gathering natural things, earwigs in particular, I like to hide in seed pods. I found 2 earwigs inside these seed pods when I knocked all the seeds out of them. And I save the seeds too. They make for good ground cover. Whatever kind of plant you have, then you put some seeds around it. These are sesame seeds, by the way. And these are those little burrs.